Well, I think one has to appreciate the relative rawness that we had been in a position where everybody spoke Mandarin, spoke good Mandarin and could communicate, and that had gone. And people were having to start all over again. I remember looking to seeing what my neighbor was doing in Japan, and he was writing notes for speaking in Japanese, but writing them in Chinese. And you realized how mixed up people could get with this huge shift from being a China-centered mission to being in all these different countries, all of which were doing different things. And then the whole issue of this idea of a domino effect, that country after country would all fall into China's hands, starting with Vietnam, and of course the Vietnam War was on at this point. And then of course Phnom Penh went, and that was one of the areas of difference. I was trying to get people into Cambodia much earlier than we in fact did. We only had 10 months in the end. We also had, of course, throughout this period, occasional deaths. North Thailand was the worst, but I mean there were one or two others which were road deaths, but the Thailand ones were usually brigands wanting to rob them of what they had and catching them on the trail and killing them, and that had a terrific effect. And then Margaret and Minka were taken captive, and we just got a message saying that they were okay, but they were carrying on in their situation. And then nothing was said for a while, and their grave was discovered. And I can remember being in Borneo at the time and singing for all the saints who from their labours rest, thinking particularly of these two ladies, neither of whom was physically particularly strong, and having to survive that kind of experience of being taken prisoner. And you did what you could to negotiate, but unless they were willing to accept. And you had this problem of money in many places. Did you start paying money to set missionaries free, in which case anybody short of cash would just collect their missionary and pay them in, sort of thing. Well, that just wasn't on. So people knew fairly clearly that OMF does not pay ransom, but it's very painful. And when you actually come across the bodies of members of the mission, as it were, that was a pretty horrific thing to endure. If we had problems and failings, it would have been always wanting to do it ourselves, rather than trusting national Christian leaders to do it. And we were a bit slow on that one, I think. But I mean, people of the ability of Hua Yong, who's speaking,
yeah, shortly.
Yes, that they were the sort of people who had a real impact on the rest of us. Well, I think the number one would be the crucial importance of building warm personal relationships with the indigenous Christian leaders in the country, and that it's a very real failing when people just do their own thing, as it were, and don't involve others with them, and are ready to lead as number one or number two or number three in a group, and willing to work with others. And some of your very best people are like that. I mean, I'm much encouraged, but we need to be humble in relationships with other missionary societies, not sort of we're the real best sort of thing. It needs a lot of humility in the way we relate to others, and the importance of doing it, because what you want to build are national churches which work together, and not ones which are all denominationally divided.